Hello Wildcats! We're the three most insane opponents on Kentucky's 2025-26 basketball schedule. Do you know? Before the news, subscribe to the channel to receive more Wildcats news. The Kentucky Wildcats 2025-26 season promises to be one of the most challenging and exciting schedules in college basketball, with a combination of regional classics, matchups against storied teams, and games against emerging programs on the rise. With Coach Mark Pope at the helm, Kentucky will not only face traditional SEC rivals, but also have a non-conference schedule packed with high-level opponents. Among them, three stand out as the Wildcats' biggest obstacles: St. John's, Florida, and Louisville. Let's analyze why these games promise to be real challenges. If there's anything that makes this matchup even more compelling, it's the narrative surrounding Rick Pitino, the legendary coach who was once an iconic name in Kentucky. Before his controversial stint in the NBA and his triumphant return to college basketball, since taking the helm at St. John's, Pitino has transformed the Red Storm program into one of the most consistent and competitive teams in the country. Last season, they achieved an impressive 31-5 record and dominated the Big East with 18 wins. In 20 conference games, what makes St. John's so dangerous? First, they have a dominant center in Zuby Ejiofor, who is considered one of the best in the country at his position. His physical presence and defensive prowess create enormous challenges for any interior attack. Furthermore, Pitino brought in high-caliber transfers like Ian Jackson, Bryce Hopkins, and Josen Sannon, all capable of scoring consistently and leading the team in decisive moments. Kentucky will face St. John's in a likely hostile environment, especially since the game will be surrounded by the spotlight due to Pitino's historical connections with the Lexington program. It will be an early test to assess the cohesion of Mark Pope's squad and its ability to handle extreme pressure. And there's another challenge. Facing national champions is never easy. And the 2025-26 Florida team appears determined to defend its title at full strength. The arrival of new talent, such as Boogie, Fland, and Xavier Lee, adds even more depth to a team that was already lethal last season. Xavier Lee, in particular, is being viewed as one of the most sought-after players on the transfer market after averaging 16.9 points per game last season while playing for Princeton. He is known for his offensive versatility and ability to create plays for himself and his teammates. Furthermore, Florida's defense is a strong point that should continue to intimidate its opponents. They combine size, speed, and tactical intelligence to stifle opposing attacks, making every possession an intense battle. For Kentucky, this matchup will be an opportunity to test its resilience against one of the best coached and most balanced teams in the country. It will take an exceptional collective effort to overcome Florida's defensive discipline and offensive efficiency. And while the Kentucky-Louisville matchup has lost some of its luster in recent years, the 2025-26 edition has everything it needs to revive the rivalry with great intensity. Under Pat Kelsey, who is in his second year at the helm of the Cardinals, Louisville is building a team capable of competing for the national title. Last season ended with a solid 27-8 record, and the team showed maturity by advancing to the NCAA tournament, despite falling in the first round for the upcoming season. Louisville will feature a young but extremely talented core led by freshman point guard Michael Brown Jr., who is already projected as a top prospect in the 2025 class. In addition to him, transfers Isaac McNeely and Ryan Conwell bring experience and long-range shooting, qualities that can cause problems for opposing defenses. What makes Louisville so dangerous is their ability to adapt their style of play to the circumstances. They are versatile on both offense and defense, making them unpredictable in individual matchups. For Kentucky, beating Louisville will not only be a point of regional pride, but also a demonstration that the program is ready to compete against the best in the region. Kentucky's 2025-26 schedule is a clear statement of intent. The program is willing to test its limits from the start of the season. Facing teams like St. John's, Florida, and Louisville presents the Wildcats with a formidable challenge. The recent era of SEC basketball has been marked by increasing competitiveness, something many would have considered unimaginable a decade ago. During the early years of John Calipari's tenure at Kentucky, the Wildcats were virtually untouchable within the conference, dominating both the regular season and the SEC tournament. However, the landscape has changed dramatically in recent years, with teams like Florida, Arkansas, Alabama, and Tennessee raising their game and transforming the SEC into one of the most balanced and exciting exciting. For Kentucky fans, this new reality is a mix of pride and frustration. On the one hand, seeing the conference evolve and become more competitive is positive for college basketball as a whole, increasing visibility and interest in the SEC. On the other, the long period without significant achievements in the conference is starting to take its toll. The Wildcats last won an SEC regular season title in 2020, a year cut short by the pandemic, and their last SEC tournament title dates back to 2018. This gap, while seemingly small compared to the program's glorious history, is significant, enough to raise questions about the future of Kentucky's dominance in the conference. The SEC promises to be even more competitive, with established and emerging teams ready to compete for the top trophies. The national champion Florida Gators are building a roster loaded with talent, while Arkansas, under Calipari, is looking to solidify its position among the conference giants. Alabama, with its two rising programs, and the ever-resilient Tennessee round out a group of teams capable of competing at a high level. In this context, Coach Mark Pope will face the most difficult challenge since arriving at Kentucky, restoring the Wildcats' dominance in the SEC. During his introduction as head coach, Pope made it clear that his goal is not just to compete, but to win. He spoke of the importance of hanging SEC flags and emphasized that every trip to Nashville for the conference tournament should be viewed as an opportunity to take it all. This statement reflects the mindset needed to return Kentucky to the top of the SEC. However, solid words need to be accompanied by concrete results, and Pope will have a squad capable of making that happen. One of the advantages Kentucky can exploit this season is the impact of the changes to the NIL rules, with each athletic department having autonomy to decide how the $20.5 million will be distributed. The Wildcats have the opportunity to attract and retain top-tier talent, something that has historically given them a competitive advantage. Furthermore, the Kentucky basketball program has a passionate fan base and financial resources that few SEC teams can match. These factors, combined with Pope's coaching experience, create the ideal conditions for the team to return to the top of the conference. However, Kentucky's biggest challenge goes beyond technical or financial issues. It's a matter of mindset. In recent years, some SEC teams have begun to lose the reverential awe that used to accompany games against the Wildcats. In such a tight league, that respect needs to be regained, and the best way to do so is through consistent victories and dominant performances. For Pope, this means not only winning important games, but also creating a clear identity for the team, an aggressive, resilient, and unstoppable group in decisive moments. Kentucky's ambition, however, isn't limited to the SEC. While the immediate focus is to regain conference dominance, the ultimate goal is always to compete for and win the national championship. Winning SEC titles is essential to this end, as it serves as an indicator of the team's competitiveness and as preparation for the rigors of the postseason. If Pope can align his strategies with the program's winning culture, there's a good chance we'll see Kentucky back on top. The time is ripe for a quiet revolution. In Lexington, with a schedule packed with tough opponents, a more competitive conference, and constant pressure from fans, Pope has the opportunity to shape a new era for Kentucky basketball. But before dreaming of national titles, it's time to get back to Basics: hang up SEC banners and show the rest of the conference that the Wildcats are back. In Lexington, attention is focused on familiar names. But there's one player who's starting to gain ground in preseason conversations: Comm Williams. The Tulane transfer guard arrives at Kentucky with credentials that justify the growing hype surrounding his name. More than just an immediate addition, Williams has an interesting NBA draft profile, and scouts already noticed this even before he officially donned the Wildcats jersey. His numbers last season at Tulane speak for themselves: 9.3 points, 4.5 rebounds, 1.4 steals, 1.3 assists, and 1.1 blocks per game. But it's his efficiency that really catches the eye. Williams shot 48.5% from the field and 41.2% from three-point range. And most notably, this long-range shooting came with volume 4.6 attempts per game. This isn't an isolated flash. It's consistency. And shooting consistency is one of the most valuable assets in modern basketball. Mark Pope, who has publicly highlighted Williams' defensive impact in practice, knows he has a rare asset: a player who combines defensive aggressiveness with elite potential on the offensive perimeter. The parallel with Kobe Bree, last season's standout shooter, is inevitable, but there is a fundamental difference. Williams arrives in Lexington as a superior defender, capable of guarding multiple positions. If his three-point shooting remains at the level he demonstrated at Tulane, he won't just be a replacement for Bree, but a potential improvement. The detail that completes this profile is mentality. Williams demonstrated character throughout his college debut, undeterred in decisive moments. This positive arrogance, as some call it, is a trait Pope values. The coach has built his roster with players who not only execute, but also believe in themselves under pressure. Otega Oweh demonstrated this last year, and now Williams could join this list of names ready to step up in high-pressure situations. It's true that, at this point, he's projected to start the season coming off the bench. But college basketball is relentless with defined roles. Whoever performs on the court plays. If Williams maintains his defensive intensity and his shot falls consistently, it will be difficult for Pope to justify limited minutes. Kentucky's rotation may have depth, but talent at this level inevitably finds its way. It's no surprise then that some mock drafts already have him in the first round. It's a combination of height for the position, perimeter efficiency, defensive versatility, and competitive attitude has him on the NBA radar. And for Kentucky, this is the perfect equation: a player who can contribute now while also reinforcing the program's image as a breeding ground for future professionals. When the ball is in the air at Rupp Arena and Williams' shots start falling, the entire college basketball scene will take notice. What is currently seen as potential could soon become reality. Mark Pope knows it, the scouts know it, and soon opposing fans will know it too. We'll see how things unfold. Comment.